Welcome to Kingsley Wood's Let's Talk Business, and today we're going to be talking about Rachel Reeves' budget. I know it's on everyone's minds for businesses and for individuals and property owners, because on the 26th of November, Rachel Reeves delivers her autumn budget against what the Treasury itself calls an economy not working well enough for working people. With a projected fiscal gap of up to 40 to 50 billion pounds and borrowing at its highest for years, she is bound by her own fiscal rules and Labour's promise not to raise income tax, NI or VAT. So where realistically can she go? I'm joined here today by Dina, Sanjay and Avinda. I'll be grateful if you can introduce yourselves, your background and where you work before we go into the questions.
Sure. Thanks, Kishan. My name is Dina Budia. I own my own firm, P2M Asset Management, and I also own P2M Properties, a property group. My specialism is more lending, financial services, and investor-related activities.
Hi, my name is Sanjay Rugani. I own a firm called Sterling Professional Finance Limited. We're debt specialists in terms of advisory as well as property. We do a lot of business funding as well.
Hello, my name is Avinda Leroy and I'm a partner here at Kingsley Wood Solicitors. I have a background in commercial law and focus mostly on dispute resolution.
Thank you. And to our first question, I'm going to ask this question to you, Avinda. When you talk to boards and CFOs, what's keeping them awake more? Is it the level of tax or the constant instability in the market and then constant tinkering? What's challenging them at the moment?
I think it's a mixture of all of those above. Uncertainty is not good for business planning, and we are at the fourth quarter of the year, so a lot of businesses would be looking at planning for the next financial year. And when you have an impact of the budget, it's very difficult, especially if you work cross-border or importing a lot. Looking to invest to further grow your business, and aspects of the budget do have an impact on that decision making. So yeah, there'll be some difficult decisions and discussions going on in boardrooms right now.
Okay, so next question is from a corporate growth perspective. Obviously, you're working in corporate law and commercial. What would be worse, a clear one-off rise in corporation tax that everyone can plan around, or years of small sort of opaque changes to reliefs and that are kind of hard to model?
I think we're a mixture of the two.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the sector that you're working in, because some sectors you can't plan ahead because there are other influential factors besides tax. In particular, when you've got building materials, for instance, there are other factors to consider. So it's certainty is always good, but to forward plan, it would certainly be better if there is an incremental increase, so that people can plan ahead.
Yeah. So I'll bring Sanjay and Dina in here. So the CBI has basically said to Reeves, be honest, break your tax promises, right? If you must, but don't keep squeezing businesses. Okay, their most key concern is squeezing businesses. If she wants to raise serious money without hammering corporate confidence, where can she realistically go? Pensions, reliefs, international, digital, cars. She's been talking about taxing electric cars as well. What's your views on that?
I think she's got a difficult job ahead of her. I don't think there's an easy way out. But I also believe that she hasn't done things in the right way. She's driven out masses of business leaders already without any consultation. I think that was a wrong thing to do. At least have a period of stability. We come in, we have an issue, talk about the issues before you start activating. For me, I think if you look at the confidence within the business investor side of things, you came in within literally weeks, you've hit the pensioners and the schools. That's added a burden straight away through to the education department, for one. You've then hit the businesses with the NI increase. That's again hit consumer confidence, business confidence. And you've gone one stage further and you'd revamp the whole employment law aspect, which now worries people on taking others on. Okay, so you've got this whole issue. The problem now is it's not just about tax, it's about what else does it impact us with. If you're not taking people on, which is a fear for many, and there are businesses now going to the wall. That's gone up. I know physically that's happening. At Sterling we're looking at 3 property transactions where administrators have been called in. Why? Because they feel that there's an issue. You take that for Dina and I both, we're in the property side of the funding, yet the renters reform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that has worried so many that they're liquidating some of their assets.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think she whilst there's a challenge, and I think it's an unbalanced challenge for her, the reality is she hasn't gone in the right way in terms of at least seeking advice of what to do. I'll add one other thing to that for me before I finish on that point. I don't see Keir Starmer standing up and saying anything either. And that to me as a leader is challenging. It feels like, is he really in charge? Is there confidence going to be there for the businesses? No, is my view. So that's where I stand on that.
Great, that's good. And Dina, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think reality on the ground, when you're speaking to these business owners and the landlord investors, everything is happening too quickly at once. It's simple. They're getting hit in all avenues, as Sanjay mentioned, and people do not know how to navigate. And I think she's clearly trying to make a stamp, and it's pretty obvious that the country needs a lot of money. And she doesn't know where to turn. She's actually hitting bullets in all directions. People on the ground, yes, I think, reality from September onwards, there was a pause, there was a lot of uncertainty going on out there. One thing I must say is, on a lending perspective, the lenders have woken up. It's become price war in terms of rates reducing. That has created a little bit of momentum. And I think the media needs to focus a lot more on that than, the tax aspect. So there is appetite for people to grow and invest, but they don't know where ultimately are they actually going to be able to retain this wealth. And that's the key problem. Those in the 70s, 80s who've tried to accumulate something, they're thinking, what's the point? Where do I put it?
But I think the rates thing, if I may just sort of step in there for a second, is largely to do with the fact that we've had such a hike in rates that it needed to balance out. And I think, again, adding to that on the business confidence side of things, you've got the issue around inflation, right? Largely food inflation. You've then got issues around the fact that we've got interest rate, what was supposed to have dropped this month, it hasn't happened. Will it happen next month? Again, questionable. Why? We hope it's going to happen, but questionable on the basis that, if there's stealth tax that are going to be mentioned in next week's budget, where does the Bank of England go? So we're then stuck. So whilst the lenders are there, I think there's still an issue, and it's not a price war in terms of the lenders. It's just an expectation that we need to get to a certain level before it goes bad. That's my view on it.
And I think you mentioned renters reform bill earlier on. I know you both kind of work in the property space to some respects. So we've got quite a sluggish property market, nervous landlords, rumours of very big changes like the Renters Reform, Renters' Rights Act reforms, and net zero energy standards also hitting the sector. How do you think, what's your feeling on the ground with property investors? Are they going to move away from property investment into other avenues? What's the feeling?
From the property side, that's already happening. Those astute landlords have literally planned, I would say 6 to 8 months ago, they've started to, we're seeing more property on the market. They are exiting out. Are there more landlords investing? Is there newbies coming in? Possibly. In the London area, not so much. I think I'm finding investors are actually seeming to see the numbers tend to fit up sort of north, which makes complete sense. Where are they, asset allocation, where are they actually going to be putting their money? Some are looking at more, profits within their business, putting it in pensions, but actually they don't have the answers. They're stuck. I think at the moment, as cash is king, as they say.
Cash is king, and we're seeing a lot of people putting money into bridging, for instance. Now, there is a question around that I would ask. There's so much money within that sector. Where's it going? because it's not happening.
Yeah.
Right? It's not happening in terms of what you just said, Dean.
Yeah,
You mean
absolutely.
not enough borrowers? You say?
Well, there's not
Yeah,
people
there's-
are borrowing. I get it. We're working on a transaction which unfortunately one of the banks has put them into administration. We're getting them out. We've got literally 10 days to do that in. Or we're there. Okay, and I'm seeing a lot of that. We've got other transactions which unfortunately I can't talk about. But the reality is, there's a big chain that may go down in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's a £30 million business, right? The reality is, it is scary for business people. It's for leaders. You don't know which way to turn. You don't know what's going to happen, whether it's to do with employment, whether it's to do with taxation, whether it's increased costs, right? Interest rates, etc., etc. The problem you have, you can't make a decision, which leads to uncertainty, which then leads to unemployment, which leads to other issues in terms of cost increases.
I think just to also add to that, Sanjay, just to pivot a little bit on the next generation of entrepreneurs. I mean, to start up a business now, would we be encouraging the next generation to start up a business? Actually, no. And when unemployment is rising so high, and especially now, where is the future for these people coming out of
I think
university?
there's certainly a movement, because in the 90s there would certainly be, 1 to 3 property landlord investors. But there's certainly a change now in terms of more institutions investing. So there's a lot bigger numbers for sure. And previously there were a lot of people investing in property rather than pension pots. But now it's more the case of more sophisticated investors or foreign direct investors coming in from overseas who are investing into UK properties or commercial buildings. And some are actually, I heard that Blackstone, which is a very large company, are also now investing into residential property. So there's a competition from domestic property buyers, from large institutions who would not have really gone into those types of properties historically, but they are now. So there is a changing wave in terms of the type of investor that's investing into the property. But what does the small guy in the high street
I was
do?
just about to say, is that not monopolising the sector, and it's those with the, it's that division, that divide is back again.
Agreed.
To a degree.
Agreed. I mean, the UK, is premised on 2 elements, isn't it? Service and property, right? And you're killing both of them in a way, or the government is, as I see it. I think the weak leadership has something to do with that. I think the lack of engagement with the public also has that issue, and largely also the lack of engagement with business. The CBI may say what they said, like go and raise your tax and give people certainty in business, and that's true to a point. It's what Dina said at the outset, as did Avinda, that you do it in bite-sized points. But the reality is, where from? I think the other day I read that they were going to add VAT to Uber taxi.
Yes.
Uber journeys. Really? Where are you now going? You're hitting the people right in the centre of the country.
Yeah. Well, you see VAT on private education as already.
Yes, that's right.
And that's a massive impact.
That's had a big impact.
Yes, I think several thousand young kids' futures have been impacted because they've had to leave the schooling system because the state system, the private education system is very different. It's a very different track, and it's a child's future that's being impacted.
Agreed.
There are many parents who are on the border of being able to afford such, but with the VAT coming in, it's difficult discussions with their children and with families, and that impacts our communities and our societies and the future of a child.
I think they're just creating a further divide in social mobility, aren't they, really? Something that they've been trying to bridge over the years. There is going to be this major divide going on, which UK has spent the previous X amount of years trying to bridge that gap in financial literacy, in standards of schools, and even the state schools don't have enough places to accommodate a lot of the students that were going to private.
Yeah.